So let's talk about the most important question of all time, which is, what's it like to live with me? Is it as amazing as people think it is? Is it just a dream come true?
Why do I feel like this is a trick question?
Welcome to Allegedly Golden. If you are listening to this and not watching it, I am in a different place than I usually am because of our very special guest today. We wanted to make sure that you could see us both sitting next to each other. So I am recording this from my office, sort of the library side with all of the books behind me. I did not choose which books they are. So I just plopped down in front of a shelf. So if there's books behind me that appear to send a message, they don't, at least not intentionally. Mr. Nag, as we call him, is going to be the primary bulk of this episode. He is going to be our legalese segment in addition to just generally getting to know him. But before we get to that, I want to do our typical segment of civil disorder, just sort of a roundup of what's going on in all the civil cases that we are following. And also, I would love to talk more about the topic that I brought up last week. So last week, I opened the podcast by talking about this thing that keeps happening to me, that I keep a note in my phone about things in life that just hit differently when you get to middle age, things you suddenly care about that you didn't before, or you feel differently about. And I asked you guys to go on either comments on the podcast or social media channels and give me some of the things that have started to hit different for you. And they were so great. I just wanted to share some of the things that you guys shared with me. There were so many I read where I was like, yes, oh my gosh, totally. I totally know that feeling. So here are some of, I'm going to summarize. I'm not going to use the words exactly probably, but here are some of the things that you guys told me hit differently for you now that you've gotten to sort of that middle age space. First is a sudden interest in history. And I totally agree. I never really cared about history in school. Like, it was fine. I wasn't against it or anything, but I was not really all that interested in it. And now I find myself ravenous for information. I read an entire book that's like 600 pages on the history of Iran because I just decided I needed to know that. I never would have cared about that back in the time when I was actually going to school. So yeah, I don't know if it's you're starting to see your place in history, if you're sort of seeing the world through a larger lens, maybe. I don't know, but there is something about it where suddenly history matters to me and I want to know it. I totally agree. A sudden appreciation for nature. I would say for me, I have an elevated sense of appreciation for nature. I've always loved looking at nature. Like, I love a vista. I love a natural vista, like show me a mountain or a waterfall or what, like I'm very into it. I don't like to be in it all that much. I'm not outdoorsy. I'm outsidey. Like if I can go outside and go for a walk and then sit and look at it from a table at some restaurant where someone brings me things, great. But I will say that I do have a more intense need to like know and understand nature more. Like my mom growing up was always very into plants and she knew like all the different names of the flowers we had in our yard and she knew all the different names of all the trees. And I was like, whatever. And now I find myself being like, well, I guess I probably should know the difference between an elm tree and an oak tree and an ash tree or whatever. So I agree with that. I still do not care about birds. I know there are people who get into bird watching when they get to this age of life. I thought about it because I was like, okay, maybe that's a thing I can do. I can't make myself care. I'm sorry. I just can't. Needing to know the square footage of everything. I literally carry a tape measure in my purse. If you hear a weird sound, Frank is eating his foot. I carry a tape measure in my purse because I have to know how big things are. Sometimes that is for measuring like a piece of furniture that I find that I might want, or measuring the size of something. But like, I need to know how many square feet. How many square feet are in a house? There goes Frank. How many square feet are in a building? How many square feet are there? Frank, this is why I don't record in this room, but you're just going to have to live with it. That's part of my life. I no longer have FOMO. I cannot think of anything in the last 10 years that I missed where I was like, oh, I wish I had gone. Honestly, I really don't. I mean, even if something incredible happened, I mean, unless somebody was like giving away money, I'm like, no, I'm pretty glad I stayed home. I never feel like, oh, I wish I had been, oh, it was such a great time. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it was. And what I did, which was lay in my bed and doom scroll while watching murder, was also great. So no FOMO. Totally agree. I had mentioned the thing about like ballrooms and like these giant chandeliers and like how do they clean them? And someone was very kind and explained to me that they have these things on pulleys and they like pull them down, right? Like how do they get it down? It's on a big pulley system. But someone brought up the other thing about like, how do they change the light bulbs? Whenever I go into somebody's house and they have like a really cool light fixture, I'm like, but how do you change the light bulbs? I actually have a chandelier on my own staircase in my own home that I don't know how to change the light bulbs on. I have to call a handy person to be like, do you know how to change the light bulbs on that? Because I don't know how to do it. But whenever there's lights, I'm like, who changes the light bulbs? Also, I assume that everything gets dusty. So anytime I see a ledge somewhere, I assume it gets dusty. Like when I used to go into either a museum or a store or somewhere where they had all of these shelves, especially if they're floating shelves, I love that look. I'm like, ooh, everything is all organized. It's on shelves. And now I walk in and I'm like, is it dusty on there? How often do you have to dust that? Does it get super dusty? You know, when people have upper kitchen cabinets and they don't go all the way to the ceiling, and sometimes people will put like plants up there, plates or whatever. When I go to someone's house, and this happened not that long ago, I went to someone's house and they had that, and I was standing in the kitchen drinking a glass of wine and talking, and I was just staring at those upper things. I was like, I wonder how dusty it is up there. How do you clean that? Do you get a duster up there? Do you forget about it? Like everything is dusty. The world is dusty when you're in middle age. This one hit me in a very special place, which is please do not bring any more crap into my home. I don't want crap. I don't want little plastic things. I appreciate the effort. I'm trying to get rid of stuff, not attain new stuff. When my son was younger and we were going to birthday parties like every 5 minutes, and you know, they have a lot of places have favors, which I appreciate, like they're trying to be nice. But there's a particular kind of favor that we came to call the bag of shit. And it's just a bunch of little like toys or dollar store things or pieces of gum and all that. And I appreciate like the effort and the thought that people put into that. But sometimes you're in the car and you open it and you're like, oh my God, what if I just throw this away before the kid even sees it? Because it's just crap. And then you have drawers full of crap and little baskets in every room of just crap. Don't give me crap. I don't want it. Please don't give me little stupid things. Whoever said that, yes, I 100% identify. And this one too, like this one started happening, I would say, probably around age 40. And I think probably every woman on the planet has been through this, where you look at a picture of yourself and at the time the picture, you immediately remember the time the picture was taken and how insecure you were about the way that you looked, and something about your face or your body or something about your appearance that you absolutely hated and you were feeling terrible about yourself. And you look at the picture now and it's like, I looked so good. What I would not do to look like that now. And that is so true. It's like you look at pictures of yourself and it's anything from like 10 years or more, I feel like. Even pictures that were taken in adulthood where I thought like, oh, I don't look good. And now I look at them and I'm like, I looked fine. I looked absolutely fine. I wish there was a way to like hypnotize you so that when you are having a photo taken, your brain would go to this place of like the future you is going to know that you look good, even if the current you thinks that you look terrible. And I think I've said before, I just find that to be one of the like rudest things about age is that the older you get, the more wisdom you get, but the less opportunity you really have to use it. I guess you're supposed to tell your children. I guess that's what you're supposed to do, is pass it on. But if I had like 1/10 of the awareness at age 20 that I do at age 50 about what I really looked like or how people saw me or all of those things, it would have been a totally different experience. And sometimes someone shows you a picture and you're like, I remember the feeling of having that picture taken and being like, ugh, I'm disgusting. I hate everything about myself right now. My face is greasy. My hair looks bad, whatever. And then you pull it out and look at it and you're like, yeah, I look good. I look good. It never, ever ends, does it? So keep sending me those. I love these because I feel like this is something that's common to so many of us who are of a certain age, that the way we see the world changes, some of it fast and some of it slow, but it seems pretty universal. So for civil disorder this week, there's a little bit on a lot, but not a lot on anything. We had 2 mediations and 0 settlements in the Lively, Baldoni, Stephanie Jones, Jennifer Abel cases. There was a lot of talk about wardrobe, about what Baldoni and Lively wore. They both wore olive green, which I thought was sort of a symbol of, olive branch, peace, that kind of thing. No settlement was reached in either case. They were, one day was Lively, Baldoni, and then the next day was Jones versus Abel. Not a huge surprise, especially in the main case. I don't know what Wayfarer would take at this point, but this seems like a holy war for them at this point. And when you're in a holy war, you're not going to settle just for money. You're going to settle for principle. They say they're ready to go to trial. Everybody says that. Every lawyer who's getting close to trial says we can't wait to go to trial. But the evidence of the things that they've said and the steps that they've taken lead me to believe they might actually be willing to go. But of course, the thing that's hanging over everybody's head is what the judge is going to do on the motion for judgment on the pleadings and the motion for summary judgment. The reason he did not rule before these settlement conferences is he does not want them to know what they're going to do, what he's going to do. Civil courts want to not have to rule, not have to act unless it's absolutely necessary, right? He doesn't want to rule on these dispositive motions unless he has to. So he was always going to hold off and say, listen, if these people settle in February, then I don't ever have to rule on these motions. It all goes away. The fact that the motions are pending puts pressure on both sides. And I imagine that during that day, there was a lot of talking back and forth between, with the mediator. They don't really talk to each other. The mediator goes back and forth between them of who thinks they have the best chance when it comes to what the judge is going to rule. Because if you're Wayfarer and you think, we're probably going to get some of the claims against us thrown out, so why would we settle? We're going to get vindicated. Where if you're Lively, you might think, he's going to send this stuff to trial. So I'm not going to give up a whole bunch because I'm going to get a chance to go to trial and have everybody know what really happened, right? So those pending motions put pressure on everybody. Apparently not enough pressure. But since those meetings have passed, I feel like the chances of us getting those rulings are now sooner rather than later. I'm asked all the time, does the judge have a deadline for ruling on those? He does not. He can do it whenever he feels like it, but he will try to keep it. Everything in civil litigation is reverse engineered from the trial date. So if the date they're on the trial calendar is May the 18th, that means that, you start doing pretrial motions the week before. People are sending exhibit lists and witness lists 2 or 3 weeks before. He will probably try to rule with enough time that if some of the claims are not going to trial, that people will not spend the money and the time preparing for them, right? He's not going to wait. He could wait until literally the day of trial and be like, oh, by the way, summary judgment granted. But he's probably not going to do that because you don't want the parties to waste time and money preparing for a trial that isn't coming. And because in this case, he has so many options where he could rule in Wayfarer's favor on some of the claims, but not others, you don't even know what you might be trying. So we're just waiting for that at this point. We are still waiting, but I think the chances of us getting it now that these mediations are over just went up. On that social media trial that's going on that I talked a lot about last week, they had opening statements this week. It is not being live streamed, so I'm having to rely on reporting from reporters who are in the room about what's going on there. But the primary argument that the plaintiff's lawyer has made against Meta and Google is that social media is essentially a casino. It is designed to keep you in, and it is designed to keep you addicted, and it is designed to keep you betting over and over and over and over again. And that the algorithm's purpose is to keep you in there, going down rabbit holes and clicking on more things and more things and more things. And that when that is applied to children who do not have a fully developed brain, that creates an addiction, and that should be a civil wrong. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. The head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, testified this week, and it sounds like his position, Meta's position, is maybe these algorithms are addictive in the colloquial sense, but they are not clinically addictive. In other words, from a medical standpoint, it's not like cocaine, right? And it was interesting because I read a piece of Mosseri's testimony, and he said, I have someone in my family that has a clinical addiction, a mental health, like a diagnosed mental health disorder. And I want to be clear that while some of these sites and these algorithms may make things addictive in the sense that like you want more, it's not the same. I don't know if that's going to work. That's a pretty fine hair to split. But that seems to be what they're doing. He is arguing on behalf of Meta that they are constantly trying to balance, how can we balance safety of our users while also not censoring people's use, which sounds like an important balance, right? It sounds like, okay, those are the right interests to balance. We want to keep people safe, but we also don't want to censor people. But we're talking about kids. And I just am not sure that that mindset necessarily applies when you're talking about children and the special harms that can come to children, the special safety concerns you have to have about children under the law. He made a point that I thought was really interesting, which was, in terms of our demographics, we make less money off of teenagers than any other demographic because they don't have money, so they don't click on ads. And so they are actually not a moneymaker for us, sort of trying to say, like, we're not keeping them for the money. If you think that this is a revenue generator, it's not a revenue generator for us. They're not actually generating very much revenue at all. But then on cross-examination, the plaintiffs were able to get out of him that statistically, it is true that if you start using social media as a teenager, you'll stay as you become an adult. Right? So if you get in the mix young, you will be a user for life. So while you might not be a short-term revenue generator, you'll be a long-term revenue generator. So I'm fascinated by how that trial is going, but that's really all we know at this point. A couple of quick things involving Erica Girardi. I do not watch The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills anymore, but I am a Rachel Zoe person. I find her fascinating. I don't know that she's like a great human, but I really do find her fascinating as a character. And so some of the clips that have come from that show, I'm actually enjoying because I find her to be she's a pretty intelligent person. She has pretty good takes on things. She doesn't try to act sort of like the most crazy to get attention, which I really appreciate. So I've seen Erica a couple of times on the show, even though that's not something I usually watch. And it's easy to forget that she has at least 2 very big lawsuits against her that are currently going on. One is the really big one, which is the Chapter 13 trustee in the bankruptcy of her husband's law firm, trying to pull back from her all of the money that the law firm gave her from money that was supposed to go to clients. It's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars. And she has maintained that either she does not have it or she's not going to give it back. So she and the trustee have been fighting over this for years. They do a case management little report every couple of months. The most recent one actually said in it, yes, we have tried to talk about settling this. I've never seen that before. Yes, we are open to a mediation where they can go with their lawyers and see if they can work it out. And that they have both agreed that if they have to have a trial on these matters, they would like to have a bench trial and not a jury trial. So again, that's not major movement, but it is some movement, and that's more than we've seen in a while. In the other lawsuit, this is a lawsuit that is pending in state court in Miami, Florida, where the guys from Marco, the fashion designers, are suing Erica Girardi and a couple of others over designs that they made, and it's essentially defamation, claiming that when she made this big hullabaloo that she had never ordered the things that she got and she wanted the money back, that, long story short, ended up with one of the Marcos getting arrested for it. Eventually the charges were dropped. They have sued her in Florida, and they have been fighting about personal jurisdiction for almost a year. She keeps arguing, and the others who are sued, which are like her personal assistant and someone else, that Florida courts have no jurisdiction over them because they don't do business in Florida and they don't live in Florida. And none of this stuff happened in Florida. It happened in Los Angeles. But the Marcos are bound and determined to keep her in Florida court. And so they've gone through 2 or 3 revolutions of motions to dismiss based on a lack of personal jurisdiction. And we are still in that. State courts are very, very slow. They're much slower than federal courts. You don't always have hearings on things, but sometimes if you want a hearing, you have to wait 3 or 4 or 5 months for it. And state courts in big cities like Miami are even slower. So that one is on a real slow roll, but it is still there. And now to the main event. You're the main event. Mr. Nag, welcome to Allegedly Golden.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on Allegedly Golden.
Mm-hmm. In our house that we live in.
Every day.
Together. That we own together. A lot of you guys have wanted Mr. Nag, as we're calling him, to be on for a long time. And I've kind of gone through with him the things that he's okay answering. And then we'll do a little rapid fire at the end to see kind of how well we know each other. But let's just start with the basics. I think I have shared over the last year that my husband is a lawyer, that we work together. That's how we met. And that he was a baseball player. But I haven't really said much of anything else. So, Mr. Nag, can you tell us 3 things about yourself that these folks don't know?
Because being a lawyer and a baseball player doesn't define me.
It does not define you.
It actually does.
It actually does.
3 things?
Yes.
Okay. I was also, number 1, I was also a basketball player.
Okay.
And I played high school basketball, and maybe this says something about my age, but when I first started in high school in the 9th grade, there was no such thing as a 3-point shot in high school basketball. But by the 10th grade, there was, and I made the very first 3-point shot in my high school's history on a team where the coach didn't allow us to shoot 3-point shots.
Did he have like a beef with it or something?
He was just a really defensive-minded coach where we scored points because we played good defense and we scored our baskets from 15 feet and in. And we were good, by the way. We were ranked number 2 in the state. Yeah. So we weren't just a terrible team. We were actually a really good team. But people were scared to shoot 3-point shots until I shot one and made it. And then his son was on the team. The coach's son was on the team.
Yeah.
Really good player.
Yeah.
Once I broke the seal, he started firing 3-point shots.
3-point shot.
And he made them all the time, and we became an even better team.
All because of you. I'm going to give you the credit for that.
I'm taking the credit.
Good job. What else?
Second, I love sesame seeds. I put sesame seeds on everything. It started with just sesame seed bagels, which I love. But now I'll put sesame seeds on pretty much everything.
Y'all, he puts them on eggs. He makes eggs in the morning. Listen, what else?
Eggs, pasta.
Pizza.
And
these are not things that have like sesame ingredients. It's just like, oh, here's a cheese pizza. Let me pour sesame seeds on it.
Yeah, but some pizza places have like flavored crust with sesame crust.
That's true. Do you have a specific type that you like better than another? I know you have different colors of sesame seeds.
No, they're all good.
So sesame seedaholic. What else? What's the third thing?
Third, I am learning Spanish and trying to become fluent in Spanish.
Why?
A couple of reasons, I guess. One, I've always sort of liked Latin culture, and I know a lot of people who speak Spanish, and being a baseball coach and being in the baseball community, there are a lot of people who speak Spanish. And I actually had times when I was coaching where parents of kids on my team only spoke Spanish. And I wish that I had been able to communicate better with them. But the one that really did it was I was coaching our son in a baseball game, and the other coach was yelling at the umpire, and the umpire was yelling back at the other coach. And I was like at a tennis match, going back and forth, having no idea what they were saying. Well, some idea, but not a lot of idea.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to learn the language because people around me speak it. And I really wanted to learn it. I took it in high school many, many years ago, but I started learning it again on Babbel.
On Babbel, that's right. And now when an umpire especially speaks Spanish and they don't know that you can understand them, now it's extra fun, yeah?
That's the most fun. When people don't know you speak another language and they speak in that language, not knowing that you can understand them, but you can.
Yeah.
Fun.
Sometimes you get mad at me because I'm not trying to learn Spanish. Although, I can get around. I can, ask where the bathroom is and how much does stuff cost. I could get a hotel room.
You could.
Te amo and all that.
Yeah.
But I'm you will watch, Netflix shows in Spanish from Spanish countries without the subtitles on.
Yeah, sometimes, but I like to watch them with the subtitles because then I can check myself a little bit. But without the subtitles is how I do a better job learning because you have to figure it out. You can't cheat.
So let's talk about the most important question of all time, which is what's it like to live with me? Is it amazing? Is it as amazing as people think it is? Is it just a dream come true?
Why do I feel like this is a trick question?
It's only a couple of thousand people are going to hear it. I'm sure it's fine.
What is it like living with you?
Yeah.
It depends on which version of you I get on any given day. Because there are many versions of L or nag, I guess as you're known in these parts.
Yes.
But actually it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I have a lot of friends who are married and who tell stories about their spouses and home life, and I feel very lucky.
What's the most annoying thing I do? If there's one thing where you could be like, she'll never do that ever again. If I snap my fingers, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, where do I start?
Oh, stop.
But they're all little things, nothing major.
Okay.
You know how you love to put butter on your toast in the morning, and then you'll leave the knife out thinking that somebody might want to use the same knife. And then the next day, that same knife is still there. And usually since I get up first, I see it.
Yeah.
That kind of drives me crazy.
Yeah, I do that because I don't like it when we use 3 or 4 knives to make breakfast and we don't always all eat breakfast at the same time. And so I have the butter knife that I use to make toast or waffles or whatever. And then I have a little thing that I set it on, and I know. And then you come home at night and you're like, why is the butter knife still here?
Or sometimes I don't see it at night, but the next morning when I'm making breakfast, it's still there.
I'm saving the environment, with my butter knife. Okay. Let's talk about content creation. You and I met working in the same law firm. You were, 3 years older than me or 3 years ahead of me? So how many years?
Both.
For practice?
Both. 3 years.
Well, yeah. How many years of practice is this for you?
I'm in my 28th.
Okay. So we've worked together as lawyers, but obviously this is the first time we've ever recorded really anything, any kind of content together. What has our life been like? How has it changed for better or for worse since I started making content? For better or for worse, almost all for better. I think it gives me the ability to see a different part of you, a part of you that I'd never seen. Well, I think that doing this, I'm nervous just to be on this podcast, but I think it requires a lot of courage. And you started out with a video, and here we are, a little over a year later, but I can't tell you how proud I am of you. I mean, I can say it, but it doesn't really justify how much it really is, because you've put yourself out there a little bit. You state your opinions to a whole bunch of people that you don't know. Yeah. And I think that's pretty courageous of you. And so it's shown me a side of you that I really had never seen before. I think that when we work together, you're an incredible lawyer. And I saw that when we worked in the same law firm. And we even worked together on a couple of cases here and there. So I knew what your skills were. And I always knew that you had this unique ability to explain things. And you have a way, whether it's legal stuff or anything really, to explain things in a really simple way so that
even simple people like me can understand them. But and that's what you're doing, and getting to see you do this. And I guess the best part is I can tell how much you enjoy it and that it's fun for you. And that's awesome, because I want you to have fun and I want you to enjoy what you're doing.
Thank you.
And that's good. And it gives me and our son, Nag Jr., is that what we call him?
Sure. Little Nag Jr., whatever.
It gives me and him a chance to go out and do all our sports stuff and not feel like we're leaving you by yourself, because you've got something to do.
This is true. This is true. When they go out, they always like leave for like hours and hours to go do stuff. And now I just make content during that time. Yeah, we worked together maybe a handful of cases at the beginning. That was before.
Yeah, it was before.
Then we were like, it probably wouldn't be appropriate for us to work together.
Yeah. As I became like a senior associate.
Right. When I was a junior. Yeah. And we both had a guy who was a mentor of ours who passed away recently. And we went to his funeral, and everybody there were so many people there who were just like, he was a mentor of mine too. I feel like maybe that's part of the reason why we practice law kind of similarly, is because we both learned a lot from him.
Yeah, we definitely did. Remember the first case we worked on with him? First case we worked on together with him?
What did that company make?
Well, let's just say it could have been Vanzan Industries.
It could have been. They made latex products. Guess which ones? Okay, so practicing law, like, I'm always trying to tell people that it's a hard profession. You don't love it all the time, right? There's a lot of drudgery. There's a lot of conflict, and some cases are better than others, and some issues are better than others, and workplaces are better than others. Can you identify a couple of times in your legal career where you have actually been like, this is fun, or like a personal accomplishment where you feel like you enjoyed it?
Well, winning is always fun for me. And I've been a competitive person forever, and being a lawyer gives you a chance to compete. And so going to trial and winning a trial, or winning a big hearing or a big motion, that's fun. That's a lot of fun. It's also fun though sometimes when you're doing something that is helpful to a person or to a business, and that it's something that they may not have been able to do without your help. Yeah. That's a different kind of fun, but that's also fun. And it's not something that I get to experience that often, because most of my clients are big companies. Most of my clients are financial institutions.
Yeah. Explain to people what you do. When I never know how to explain, like, you're a corporate bankruptcy lawyer, but you also represent banks. Like, explain to people what it is that you do.
I guess most of my practice is in a world that a lot of people refer to as creditors' rights or debtors' rights. And it typically involves some type of a loan that has not been paid back. That's usually how it starts. And most of the time I am on the lender or creditor side of that equation, but sometimes I'm on the debtor side. And I think it's important to be able to practice on both sides, to do creditor work and debtor work. Number one, because it helps my debtor clients, because I know what the creditors are thinking, right? And vice versa. But number two, a lot of times on the debtor side, sometimes, and you've said this to me, why did you take that debtor case? Because debtor cases are so consuming, and they take everything out of you, because you have a company that is trying to survive or trying to reorganize, restructure, because that's mostly what I do. I don't do a lot of liquidation work. And so their company is, to a certain extent, in your hands. Like
right away, like immediate.
From the beginning. And every time you want to do something, you have to go to court. And there are so many different constituencies out there of creditors and employees, and just so many different people whose interests are affected by it. And so it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of energy, mental energy, and it's a lot. And I remember one time you said, why did you take this case? But then when you help someone, it's a different kind of feel good about the practice of law. Sometimes I've come out of a meeting with a client where I've given them advice. I'm like, wow, that felt good to be able to tell them this is what you can do to help your company.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that when a company files bankruptcy, like, there's the automatic stay goes into place, right? So they can't be sued. But immediately, anything they want to do, including like paying for healthcare, paying salaries, everything automatically now has to go through this different filter. And if it's a company that has employees, it's just like their lives are literally in your hands from day one. What was that case you had where it was like a multi-state company? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nursing homes.
Yes.
Yeah. A partner and me, we represented like 26 different nursing homes in 4 or 5 different states. And that was a lot. That was a good case.
Yeah.
But that was an example of times where we'd meet with the client and we'd know that decisions we were making were going to impact many people, not just him as the owner of the company, but the employees, the doctors at the nursing homes, the nurses, the physical therapists, the residents, the patients, their families. So many people were dependent on what was going to happen in the case, and they depended on us to do the right thing to hopefully help them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all lawyers search for, feeling like they did something to help, but that doesn't always pay the bills.
Well, that's right. That's
so unfortunately, you can't do that all of the time.
Well, and, I think I'm fairly discriminate about the debtor cases that I take, because there are some debtors who file bankruptcy and they've caused their own problems and they've put themselves in the situations. There are debtors. One thing we used to joke about is one sure sign that a company's going to end up in bankruptcy is when they buy that airplane. And it just happens that way a lot of times.
Got out over your skis.
That's right. Yep. But a lot of the debtor clients that I represent are usually good people, not the worst business people, but had something bad happen to them, had some bad luck. There was a bad storm that damaged a lot of property, or there was a bad landlord, or something that happened that put them in a difficult position. And that, to me, those are the people that the system is really designed to help. The fresh start of bankruptcy is really there to help them.
What's the other kind of work that you do? Financial stuff, representing financial institutions?
But mostly representing financial institutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people would be surprised at how often people don't pay the bank back. And I'm talking about companies, not individual people.
Yeah. And again, it's like a lot of people have this idea about banks, that banks are always the bad guys. But a lot of times, in my experience, they're not. Some of the best experiences I've had representing banks are when banks and borrowers have communication. They talk to each other. And so the bank knows what's going on, and the bank knows if a borrower ran into a bad string of events that have caused them difficulty. I mean, obviously COVID was a good example of this, but the borrowers that communicated with their banks allowed for a better result if it was a bankruptcy or if it was in a workout or whatever it is, allowed for a better result. And in those cases, working for the banks and the bankers that I work with, I mean, they're human also. And there are some bankers that are just, we're going to get this person because they owe us money and that's all there is to it.
Right.
But most of the clients that I work with, I feel are good people that are trying to do what's best for everybody. Yes, they need to try to collect money for their institution. That's their job. But at the same time, they want to do it in a way that's going to hopefully be productive and helpful for the borrower. Give them an opportunity to pay back their loan instead of just, let's go sue them and take them, get a judgment against them. Let's figure out if there's a way we can do it differently.
Yeah.
That's what I like to try to do.
Yeah.
Allows you to think creatively and try to come up with solutions.
And you always say, like, at the end of the day, you do a lot of business. You do as much business as you do law because, right, you're trying to find solutions to things.
Yeah. Which is what makes it kind of fun because every business is different. So you get to learn about different businesses.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting.
What's your favorite ruling that you've ever gotten in a case? The one you got really early?
That was definitely one of the favorites. So the partner that we talked about that was our mentor, he had a case and he brought me in as a first year lawyer to help him work on this case. It was a title insurance case. And if you own a house, you probably know what title insurance is. Mm-hmm. You have to have it. But what happened in this case was there was a title agent who had an affiliation and there were policies for several different title insurance companies. And he dipped his hand into the cookie jar too many times, stole money out of escrow, and the title company started to figure it out. And I represented the first title insurance company that figured it out.
Yeah. And
then other title insurance companies figured it out. And then finally there was one left holding the bag, and they're the ones that lost all the money. So what did they do? They sued the very first one, who actually was diligent and figured out something isn't right here, and ended the relationship with this agent. So they sued that company in like an 18-count complaint in federal district court. And I was, as the first year associate, I was charged with doing the research and writing the memoranda of law. And
you were a baby lawyer. Really?
I was in my first year of practice.
Wow.
And there were 3 partners working on the case and me. And so ultimately we filed a motion for summary judgment on like half of the counts because there was a page limit. And we just couldn't fit 18 counts into, I think it was a 50-page limit to get summary judgment on everything. So we moved on what we felt were the best counts that we could get summary judgment on. Court granted summary judgment for us and noted in the order that we would probably be entitled to summary judgment on the rest of the counts if we move for summary judgment.
Hint, hint.
So we filed a motion asking the court for leave to file another summary judgment motion, which was granted. And we ultimately got summary judgment on that one too. It was a great result. And the senior partner came up to me afterward and he said, congratulations, you did great work on this case, but I just want to tell you, this may be the best result you get in your entire legal career. And I thought about it. I'm like, wow.
Full summary judgment on an 18-count complaint is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, with millions of dollars at stake and national title insurance companies from all over the country involved in it. It was a big case.
Was that true?
Pretty close. I mean, for me personally, I was like low man on the totem pole for that one. So I was learning how to be a lawyer at the time. So it was cool. But getting results, whether it's at trial, winning at trial is so much fun. Winning big summary judgment hearings is fun. I had a case where I represented a bank in a Ponzi scheme case where the bank got sued for getting paid as part of a Ponzi scheme, which seemed kind of ridiculous. And getting summary judgment in that case was fun because it was a really high profile, publicized case. So that was fun. Was it true? Not really, because once I became like first chair, lead attorney in the case, and winning those, that's pretty cool too. Yeah. But it was a big case.
Yeah. The page limits and like cutting your arguments down to meet page limits is like a for real issue that lawyers deal with all the time, whether it's a summary judgment motion or like at the appellate level where you only have a certain number of pages. Like when you have a big complicated case, it is legitimately hard to get all of your stuff into the page. And sometimes you can ask for additional pages, but they're only going to give you a couple.
I've always kind of thought too that when you do that, when you really narrow it down and you cut out the extra words, it's always better.
Yeah.
What is it? What do they call them when you'll have like a line and there'll be like one word on the next line?
Oh, orphans
and widows.
Orphans and widows. Yeah,
and when you cut those out, like
you cut those out. Yeah.
Figuring out how can I like take a word or two out of this sentence to make it shorter to save a line.
Yeah.
Just doing stuff like that. And it usually, or maybe almost always makes it better.
Yeah.
Shorter is better.
I used to do that with appellate briefs all the time because, you have a very specific limit and it's like, go find all the orphans and widows. I remember doing this on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. Go find all the orphans and widows and see if you can take them out.
Right.
But you and I both too, this is actually something that gets talked about in the Lively Baldoni case a lot is this guy, I think I've told you, this guy, Kevin Fritz, this lawyer who he writes in a way that's really sort of like clear and easy for people to understand. And I know this is one of your hobby horses about the practice of law, about lawyers trying to sound smart. Yeah. What's your sort of I know you try to write clean and easy and understandable.
Yeah, exactly. I try to write in plain English. I try not to use big words when I don't have to. I don't want to try to, I don't want to try to sound smart because the harder you try to sound smart, usually in my opinion, the less smart you are. You're trying to hide something behind big words. What do we talk about? Words, when people say, obviously, usually that's a hint that it's not obvious.
Clearly means it is not even remotely clear.
Right. So I try to stay away from stuff like that, but write simple, short sentences, common words, plain English. It's just, I think judges appreciate that too.
I think they do. I think especially now more than ever, it's like, come on, just get to it.
Right.
Like, tell me what's actually happening. It's a lost art. But if you do it, and I do it, and everybody we train does it, then, it sort of starts to hopefully filter out into the profession. Okay, so we've talked about the good parts of being a lawyer, but there's a lot of bad parts, most of which we won't bore you with. But one of those is people are rude. Other lawyers are rude. And sometimes they call you names. And you've been called a couple of names.
I have.
Tell us about that.
Okay. My favorite was a case that I was getting ready for trial a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago. I was taking a deposition and there were probably 10 people in the room, but the only person who wasn't in the room was the lawyer for the opposing party. He decided he was going to attend by Zoom for some reason. So I'm taking this deposition and I'm asking, it's a third party witness. So it wasn't his client, it wasn't my client, third party witness, but it was his client's friend. And so I'm asking this guy questions and former business partner, actually, asking him questions, and he didn't like my questions. And so he would object. But objections are not a reason in most cases to not answer a question. So he still had to answer. And I kept asking questions going towards a certain point that I was trying to establish for the record. And I asked the question, and the words that we all heard over the microphone, over the speaker, was this guy talking on Zoom through his microphone on Zoom.
The attorney.
And he said, "What a scumbag," kind of under his breath, but enough so that everybody looked around like there was silence in our room. And I looked at my partner who was in the room. I looked at the witness, and everybody's looking around like, did we just hear what we thought we heard? And so finally I turned to the court reporter and I asked the court reporter, "Did you get that?" And she said, "I got it." So I said, "Okay." And I continued on with the deposition. Then when we finished a certain line of questioning and maybe we were about ready to take a break, the lawyer on Zoom, I think, realized that he fucked up. And he went into this excuse-laden apology of, "I'm sorry for what I said. I used inappropriate language, but I thought I was on mute." He said mute, not mute. I thought I was on mute.
That is the best part of the story. I thought it was on mute.
I thought I was on mute. And she got that in the record also. So when you read the transcript, it says
OOT. Love it. Love it.
And he said it, but I thought I was on mute and I was talking to somebody in my office about something totally different than this deposition.
Sure you were.
Not really. So
scumbag. That's okay. You should have that transcript. We should have it framed.
Oh, have it framed? Yeah. I have it in my
I know
office.
you have it. We should get that framed. We should print out that part and that part of the transcript, that page, and have it framed and put in your office.
Yeah. We should. The same lawyer, by the way, when we were in trial, lost an objection, and I can't even remember what it was, but I heard him, because I was right next to him, mumble under his breath, "What an asshole."
About the judge?
I think so. I think he was talking about the judge. And as you know, there are microphones all over courtrooms, and so I am pretty sure the judge heard it also. And I know the jury heard it because certain jurors, their eyes shot over to our table, like, "What?"
Maybe you should focus on grammar and spelling.
Yeah.
And
just etiquette. Come on.
Oh, there was another one. This was on the phone.
Yeah, this is a good one. This one, well, I'll cut to the chase and then tell you the backstory.
Okay.
I was called bullshit. A guy said, "You are bullshit, sir. You are bullshit, comma, sir." So with all due respect, you are bullshit.
You're bullshit.
But I was representing a committee of creditors in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy case. And in bankruptcy law, there's this area of law called preference law, which, without getting into the weeds of it, says in certain circumstances, when a debtor makes a payment within the 90 days before a bankruptcy case is filed, that payment has to get returned to the bankruptcy estate. There are defenses to it, but if those defenses don't apply, it gets returned. So I'm talking to this gentleman who...
Wait, can I just, and that's because, tell me if I'm wrong, that's because people could, if the company knew they were going to file bankruptcy, they could potentially make a bunch of payments right before they filed that could keep people who actually deserve the money from getting the money. So the court just pulls it all back in.
Yeah. Or they could say, "Well, I'm going to pay this guy because this guy is a friend of mine, but I'm not going to pay that person because I don't really like them."
Okay.
So it's a way of trying to say anyone that got paid in the lead up to the filing of the bankruptcy case should have to put that money back in so that it can get split pro rata based on the amount creditors are owed among all the creditors. And that's why they call it preference, because the idea is, did the debtor prefer one creditor over another? Okay. So the law itself makes sense. It actually makes sense. But in reality, it doesn't make sense, because most of the time you've got a creditor who's owed could be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars by a debtor. And maybe they got paid. Let's say they're owed $300,000 and maybe they got paid $50,000 within those 90 days. You're telling them that not only are they still owed the 300, but now they have to give the 50 back that they actually got paid. And it's hard to understand. It doesn't make sense. And a lot of unsecured creditors like that don't have lawyers because they don't want to have to pay a lawyer to do what? There's not that much that they can do, which is why there are committees. And actually, I was representing a committee that represented all of the unsecured creditors.
So the unsecured creditors committee, so secured creditors are people who have security. So they have a mortgage, they have they have some kind of piece of paper.
A UCC, a mortgage.
Right. But then all of the people who are just, the people who sell them paper and the people, right, and the healthcare companies or whoever, those are unsecured creditors.
Mostly.
And so instead of them individually trying to go after the money that they want, it's almost like forming a union, right? They have bargaining power as a committee, kind of.
Well, they, not necessarily bargaining power, but they have strength in numbers where one lawyer will represent all of them, and they get paid out of the estate. So the individual creditors aren't having to cut checks to the lawyer. Lawyer gets paid by the bankruptcy estate.
Right.
just like the debtor's lawyer would, just like the United States trustee does, others who get paid out of the estate.
Got it.
So it's a way to give them some representation without them having to spend their money for the representation.
Okay. So anyway, the guy who called you bullshit.
Yeah. So I was just explaining all this to him and he just was so frustrated and just really didn't understand it. I knew he didn't understand it. I tried to explain it to him as best I could. And he just lost his patience finally. And he said, "You are bullshit, sir." And then he hung up the phone on me. And I felt bad. I chuckled. I think I probably called you right after and said, "You're not going to believe what this guy just called me."
Bullshit, sir.
Yeah.
We say that to each other.
We do. It's fun.
Yeah. I really appreciate the sir. Because it's like saying, like, "Go fuck yourself, sir."
Yeah.
Like, I really like it.
Like, I respect you. You might be an asshole, but I still respect you.
But I'm pissed. Yeah.
And I got it. I totally understood why you felt that way. It's a difficult law.
It is. It's a difficult one. Speaking of just like general legal things, I took Latin in high school because I'm a nerd. Our son actually takes Latin. You did not because you took Spanish. But when you're practicing law, there are tons of like legal phrases. I'm going to tell you my favorite legal Latin phrase and you tell me yours. Okay. So my favorite is res ipsa loquitur, which means the thing speaks for itself.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. It's oftentimes used in like strict liability cases, which is, those are situations where just because the thing happened, someone's automatically liable. Like you don't have to prove causation and all of that kind of thing. And so people say res ipsa loquitur. I also just find it's kind of like the Latin version of it is what it is. Like the thing is what it is. Yeah. And so sometimes it's helpful in life where it's just like something's going on. You're like, res ipsa loquitur. You know what I mean? How about you?
All right. Let's see if I can get this right because it's a long one, but I try to use it as much as I can. And I always have to check it to make sure I say it right. But it's inclusio unius est exclusio alterius. The inclusion of one is to the exclusion of others.
It's a good one.
I love that one. And I think that kind of goes to like this whole idea of the writing that we were talking about, of being clear with your writing. And so I use it when you're trying to say, when you've got a list of like, this is the list of things you can't do. And then you accuse somebody of doing something else. The argument would be, well, you made a whole list of things you can't do and this wasn't in it. Therefore, it wasn't in it for a reason. You didn't mean to include it. And so I like that one.
I like it too. It's
clean, right?
It's clean. Yeah. And it's like when you're looking at a contract or a statute and it's like, if somebody went to the trouble of making a list of things and they left this thing off, they meant to leave it off.
Yeah.
It wasn't a mistake.
Yeah. I really like that one.
I like that one too, although it is a mouthful.
And I always check to make sure I get it right. And I might have even said it wrong this time because I don't have my Latin cheat sheet.
Okay. If you are listening to this, you can't see this, but if you're watching it, I just want to address it. Like the sun has come in like a weird way in the room that we're in. And Mr. Nag is all aglow. He looks like the angel that he is. So we can't really move in this room. It's going to get us anyway. So, he's just going to look at him.
We'll survive.
Look at that bright face. Okay. People ask me constantly, what do you think about Lively Baldoni? What do you think about the case? Can you please just once and for all out of your mouth explain to people that you do not know about the case, you do not follow it, and you do not understand these claims?
Okay. I am not an employment lawyer. I wouldn't know Justin Baldoni if I had to pick him out of a lineup. And as far as Blake Lively, I've heard of her. I saw her in Gossip Girl.
Have you seen her since?
Has she been in anything since? I don't know.
Not anything you would have seen.
I'm not into that world.
Yeah.
And the case is, I guess, interesting. And I know that you've done a lot of work with it. So that makes me want to at least know something about it. But if it wasn't for your commentary on it, I would not.
Can you even tell me the elements of sexual harassment?
I have no idea what the elements of sexual harassment are.
Y'all, he literally doesn't know. It's just not it's not an area you've ever practiced in.
I mean, I could guess, and I'm sure I would be wrong. And I'd probably embarrass myself by guessing.
Yeah. But you generally know what's going on in the case, but.
Yeah, I generally know. And actually, when I go to work, people ask me, so what's going on at Lively Baldoni? And, I'll catch bits and pieces. And I'll watch a lot of your videos. And I'll listen to your podcast. And
you know what I went to New York for and summary judgment.
So I know a lot more than I would ever know if it wasn't for you about the case. But I don't know that area of law. And I don't want to say I don't care, but I really don't really care.
You don't have to care.
I don't really care about the case.
You don't, none of it really crosses over into things that are on your radar, except for one thing.
You.
Well, okay, two things. except for the fact that I'm following. And there's like been just like some general litigation jockeying where it's like, here's what's going on with discovery issue or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And going back to our mentor again, one thing he always said was, if you can litigate any type of case, because you're always going to have to do the research. You're always going to have to review the law. And so if you remember, when we first started practicing with him, that firm, we had a litigation group.
Yeah.
But we did not have a construction litigation group, an employment litigation group, a securities litigation group. It was litigation. And that was his philosophy. If you can litigate, you can litigate. Go learn the law for whatever it is. And so I'm sure I probably worked on some employment case at some point down the line when we were there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's just not my thing.
Yeah, we really were taught, like, you need to learn how to litigate, and then you'll figure out whether you want to, like, go into a particular niche, which I think was the right way to do it, don't you?
Definitely.
I know there are lawyers, and I have great respect for them, but they know, like, they practice in one area only, and they know, like, every single case that's ever been written on that issue. I just think I would get bored.
Agreed.
I mean, I like them. I'm glad they're there so I can ask them questions, but, like, that's not for me.
Me either.
Yeah. The one part of this case, though, that pulled you in is the ethics parts of it, and specifically the issue of what we call Vanzan, which is where there was this lawsuit that apparently was filed in New York. A subpoena was served for documents, and then the case was ceremoniously closed. Talk about, like, why that got to you. Like, why did you care about that all of a sudden? And just like why that is, I've had a hard time explaining to people. I think people have a pretty good sense of, like, that seems wrong. But, you know, to hear it from someone other than me, like, why is a matter of legal ethics that is so troublesome?
I think as lawyers, we were both trained that when you're going to file a lawsuit, that you don't just write words on a piece of paper and file it. There's a lot of diligence that goes into filing a lawsuit. And we were taught that if you're going to file a case, you have to have a good reason for believing that you have facts and that you have law to support the case.
Imagine that.
And that's what the rules require also. Yeah. The rules require that you have a basis for what you're doing. And this particular case, this fake case, I guess, that was filed, really bothers me, because there was never a legitimate cause of action. There was never a legitimate opponent of the plaintiff.
Yeah, talk about that. You filed cases that had Doe defendants, but it's never just the Does, right?
So in my practice, like, a simple example would be a bank makes a loan to a company that owns a shopping center. Okay. And in the shopping center, there are a bunch of different pieces of property with different tenants who lease space at each of the properties. And let's just say that the borrower, the shopping center owner, doesn't pay his loan back. And so the bank has to file an action against him to foreclose because it has a mortgage on the shopping center. Well, what the bank would do is it would sue if it wants to take over the shopping center and get rid of the tenants. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes you want to keep the tenants. Yeah. A lot of times you do. But if you want to get rid of tenants, or if you have a property and you don't know if there are tenants, you will sue unknown tenants, which is similar to John Doe. You don't have to name them because you don't know if they're there.
You don't know who they are.
And then once you file the case, the first thing you do is you send your process server out with the complaint to serve the complaint. And the process server will say, there's no one there. So there are no unknown tenants. And if there are no unknown tenants, then you will drop the unknown tenants from the case. If the process server goes there and says, hey, there's a tenant called ABC Co. at this property, then you will amend your complaint to include ABC Co. as a defendant. So you're going to figure out during the case if they're there. And the way I understand what happened in this case is they filed a case, they named a bunch of John Does, they used the case number so that they could issue a subpoena to get documents, and then as soon as they got the documents, they dismissed the case.
Yes, that's right.
So basically, they had no claim. They had no defendants. They didn't want to pursue any defendants because they dropped it before there was ever a chance to do anything.
Right.
Like, that's just, to me, that's a sham. Like, it's just, if they wanted to get the documents, there are ways they could have gotten the documents, I think.
Yeah, you got me thinking about, like, what would have happened if, because sometimes you file a case and you know that there's documents out there and you're like, well, I'm going to file a case and then I'm going to subpoena those documents because I know they're out there. Mm-hmm. So you got me thinking about, like, what if she had filed just the sexual harassment claim, mm-hmm. and then immediately upon discovery starting, the first thing she did was send a subpoena to Stephanie Jones, She could have done that, right?
Yeah, the rules specifically contemplate how you can subpoena documents from a third party, from someone who's not a plaintiff or a defendant in the case.
Right.
Happens all the time.
The problem with that, of course, is that when you do it by the rules, the people that the documents are about that might be implicated or have confidentiality interests in have to get notified.
Not just the people that would get not just those people would get notified,
right?
But the other parties in the case would get notified also.
Yes, the other parties in the case would get notified.
Because you have to give notice that you're going to issue this subpoena to a third party.
Right.
And when you give that notice, then there's an opportunity to object.
I think that's the thing that bothers me the most is that, yes, it's a fake case and it's a sham and not trying to find the defendants and all of that. But I think what bothers me the most is that the only possible reason for doing it the way that they did it is to make sure that the Wayfarer parties could not block those documents from being given over. And they had the right to do that. They had the right to try. They may have lost. The judge may have said, that confidentiality clause doesn't cover that, but they never even got the chance.
But in this case, didn't they have all kinds of different layers or levels of confidentiality, AEO and all other stuff?
That was this is before that. So the documents that Lively went and got from this third party was a PR agency that had represented Wayfarer. Mm-hmm. And all the documents were up at Wayfarer. Her contract with Wayfarer said any confidential information that we develop in working together, neither one of us will share with third parties without telling each other. And then she just turned it all over.
Yeah, that should be a problem. Have they sued her?
They have.
Okay.
She sued them and then they counterclaimed back. But you raised such a good point of at the very bare minimum, when you're filing a case as a plaintiff, it's different when you're a defendant because you're not the one making the decision. But when you're filing the case as a plaintiff, the lawyers have this responsibility to be like, this is I'm using the system for the things it's supposed to be used for. I have a good faith case. And if you file it against unknown people that you never try to find, and before you even try, you drop the case, how can that be in good faith?
It's not. It's just not.
I think that the issue that frustrates people is it might not be illegal. It's unethical, but it's probably not like a violation of the law in the way that people think of it.
You're not going to go to jail for it.
No. But some people feel like, why not? Yeah. Right? It's a misuse of.
It's kind of cheating is what it is. It's cheating. And
I mean, would you put your name on that, Sabina?
Nope.
Would you put your name on a complaint that says these documents were obtained by a lawful subpoena?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I don't know if it's lawful or not, but it just doesn't feel right to me.
No.
And that's like how we guide ourselves a lot is how does it feel? Like we know right from wrong and there's a whole ethical code that we have to follow and rules. And we had to take tests that show that we know it. And we have to do continuing legal education every 3 years to keep.
And a lot of it is ethics. Like you have to take specific ethics classes.
Yeah. So there are ethics, but a lot of it too is like once you know the rules, you have to feel it, right? Like I feel this is just not right. Like I can't point to a rule or I don't know that there's a specific rule on this, but I just know this isn't right.
You have to have your own internal compass about what you will and won't do, especially what you will and won't do for money, right? Because you're getting paid.
Yeah.
You had a really acute instance of this not that long ago. It was a couple years ago with that case.
Yeah.
Talk about that case because I think that's a really good example of a situation where it's like you could bend, but you chose not to.
So I had a client who wanted me to file a motion in a district court case. Well, sort of. There was a district court case that got what's called remanded to state court, which means it got pushed back to state court.
The reverse of removal.
Correct.
It went back.
The case actually was removed and then it got remanded.
Got remanded back.
And the client wanted me and my partner, our firm, to file a motion in the case after it was remanded back to state court. So a case in federal court.
Right.
And it didn't feel right to me. And the client was getting advice from another lawyer. And I asked the other lawyer, I said, can you show me some case law that supports filing this motion, that this is a legitimate motion? And the lawyer originally said, of course, there's a lot of case law on it. And there wasn't.
You called me.
In fact, this all happened. This decision was made while I was driving back home. It was about a 4-hour drive from where I was with the client. They decided they wanted to file this. They wanted me to file it when I got back home at about 11:30 that night.
Before the end of the day.
And I kind of knew it was wrong, but I didn't know what to do. So I did. I called you. I said, I'm driving home. When I get home, I'm going to have to deal with all this. And you actually said, well, let me just take a quick look and see what the case is.
I jumped on Westlaw and was like, let's see what the deal is.
And you found a couple cases. And you found cases, which then we did further research on and found a whole bunch more that supported not filing, that the motion wasn't even necessary.
No.
Because what they wanted to do was, without getting into all the specifics, they were going to be fine without filing the motion. They didn't need a court to tell them that they were okay.
They wanted to ask a federal court for something they didn't need to ask a federal court for.
That's right. In a case that didn't exist anymore, a case that was closed.
Right.
And so in the end, I told them, I'm not going to file this motion. I'm not going to put my name on it. If we do, number one, I was worried that the other side would file a sanctions motion against us. Yeah. How can you file a motion in a case that is closed on an issue that doesn't matter? Because the law is pretty clear on it. And so I was worried. I didn't want to get a sanctions motion. And in that particular case, it was a very bitter case. The two sides did not like each other one bit. The lawyers, we got along fine, but the other side, they actually kind of like your case. I don't know how many sanctions motions there were, but they filed a couple sanctions motions.
2 or 3, I think.
Which didn't end up getting them anywhere. But I told the client, I'm not going to file it. And I can support why we're not going to file it. And I can support why we don't need to file it. And the client did not like that answer. And we went back and forth on it for several weeks. And before too long, they decided that they wanted to find a different lawyer. And that was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess to your point, I could have filed the motion and continued making money and getting paid by them, but I didn't. And they found a new lawyer and they actually didn't pay their last couple bills. So
what do you know about that?
Awesome.
I mean, that's the other thing is when, microphone. No, sorry. When a client asks you to do something that you think is like ethically challenging, you're also thinking like, this is not going to be the last time they ask me to do this. Like if they're telling me to like, push the line a little bit further, it's probably not going to stop. Like what's the next thing they're going to ask me to do? And then it's also like, why would you want to work with me if you don't listen to me?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I think you said in that case you had like 3 sanctions motions.
I think there were 3 that were filed against us. One for spoliation of evidence. Another one, I can't even remember what they were for. They were silly.
And none of them got granted.
No, they didn't.
Have you ever heard of a case where there were 10? This case, the Lively Baldoni case, has 10 sanctions motions all by the same side, all by her.
In the one case? I know there's a bunch of different cases.
No, in the one case.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of that.
It's insane.
That's
right?
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to file a sanctions motion, like you need to hit on it, right? And you've got to have a silver bullet. It's got to be a winner.
Don't miss.
Don't miss. It's like judges hate them. God, they do. Judges hate discovery disputes and judges hate sanctions motions. And a lot of times on sanctions motions, the judge will just continue it and continue it and continue it until the end of the case and hope that they get resolved somehow. Right. So they don't have to rule on them because nobody likes them. And it's got to be like super, super serious in my opinion to even file or to even serve a sanctions motion because you have to serve it, give them a safe harbor waiting period to take back whatever it is you're claiming the sanctions on. Yeah. Like if they file a particular pleading or motion that shouldn't have been filed, they get a chance to like withdraw it, fix it, and then you file it. So like,
don't you feel like 10 is kind of a tell?
I think that a lot of times when you file that many of anything, you're distracting. I feel like that it's litigation strategy. Yeah. Is it a winning strategy? I don't know. It's not something I've ever tried, but usually you're trying to distract from the main issues and try to draw the court's attention to other stuff.
Or the public in some cases.
In this case, the public.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to your favorite topic in all the world. Which is your second favorite topic in all of the world, which is sports.
Okay.
As I said at the beginning, people know that you are a baseball player, that you played at the college level. And you are always talking about how being a college athlete really and being an athlete in general really like shaped who you are and how it even helps you as a lawyer. So can you explain to people what you mean?
Yeah, I think to be a successful athlete, among many other characteristics that you have to have, one of them is discipline. And I think discipline is something that starts when you first begin playing sports, at least for me it did. And and you're taught how to be a disciplined person, because you're not just playing your sport. And I was not really an individual sport person. I was always on teams, baseball, basketball, soccer, other teams. And so there's discipline and accountability, and you learn about how to be accountable to your teammates and to your coach and to your family and to everybody else while you're playing your sport. And I think just being involved in team sports especially really helps prepare people for life. And people talk about, especially with baseball, I hear it a lot. Baseball is a metaphor for life. I believe that's true in a lot of ways. And I think that my participation in sports from the time I was a kid through a little bit after college, actually, I think helped shape who I am.
Do you think that there's a parallel or a line between the competition as an athlete and doing litigation? Like, it's a little bit, litigation's a lot of it's sort of competitive.
Yeah,
right?
that's one of the great things about litigation. You're competing, you're trying to win.
Yeah.
Right. And in sports, you're trying to win. And in litigation, you're trying to win. And I think that's something that draws some athletes into litigation if they're going to become lawyers. I've met several lawyers along the way who were also athletes up to the college level and some even beyond.
Yeah.
And yeah, the competitive element of it is definitely there. And I think that when I see lawyers who are former athletes, it tells me something about them already before I've even seen them practice law, step in the courtroom.
What does it tell you?
Stuff. It tells me that if they, especially if, we're talking about someone who's played at the college level, and really it doesn't mean it has to be like the Division I level or whatever, any college level. If you're a college athlete, to me, that says a lot, because in college you have to, you're a student athlete still. And maybe it's becoming less of that today than it was when we were in college. But to be a successful college athlete at any level, time management is huge. You have to be able to figure out how you're going to get your schoolwork done, how you're going to be able to get your practice in. And then in addition to like your team practice, if you're on a team, you've got your individual, your workouts and your running or whatever else you do, and you're still a college student. And so figuring out how you can be a college student and do all those other things is going to require you to be a good manager of your time.
Like go out drinking.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the fun things when you're a college athlete. I played college baseball at a school at the time I was there. College baseball was the number one sport on campus. Mm-hmm. And yeah, people have parties. They want the baseball players there. So you find out about all the parties, and people are going out and they want to know where you're going so that they can go there. And that's a lot for an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid. Because really, you're there to play your sport, and it's because of your sport that you're getting all this attention. So if you are not successful in your sport and you're not on the team, you're not going to get that attention either.
How did you manage? I think you said it, but I think it's true to some degree. It's a generational thing. But how did you manage to play play sports at that level, but also be academic enough that like you could have this legal career afterwards? It seems like you were kind of doing both at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some athletes who get to the college level and college sports for them is almost like minor leagues. There's a very small amount of people that are going to go on and play professional sports. And it's a little bit different for them. I think for most people, and this is, I attribute this to my parents, but who both were teachers, right, to prioritize education and to know that, yeah, I was a Division I baseball player who thought I was good enough to play pro baseball, but in reality knew that the chances of that happening were small. And so I had to make sure that I was also preparing myself for the real world once my baseball days were over. And so that was just something that was kind of ingrained in my mind from my parents from the time I was a kid. I went to private school as a kid because my parents thought I'd get a better education there. I went to a prep school in high school, all guys, a very academic institution. And I learned how to study at that school. Yeah. And I learned, and this is again from my parents, from my teachers and others, I learned that you have to prioritize your academics. I mean, people say it, but it's more than just a saying. It's reality. And that's the only way you can prepare yourself to go, I went to law school. You went to law school.
I did.
But you don't just get to law school because you want to go to law school. You have to prepare yourself. You have to get good grades. You have to figure out how to take that darn test, the LSAT, which I had to take twice, actually.
I think I may have taken it twice, too.
Yeah, the first time I didn't study for it, I just took it thinking, yeah, I'll do great. And Yeah, I took it. It was on a Saturday morning, college, right? Second time I studied for it, did much better.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm amazed because like I remember just being in college and trying to like go to class, and I had all this freedom and all this socialization I could do, and I could barely figure out how to live, and I didn't have to go practice sports. Maybe it helped. Maybe the structure helps.
I think it does because you have to do it, right? Like sleeping in really didn't happen that much because we would have morning workouts. You had to get up early, and I had to take morning classes because we had practice every afternoon, and they had study halls for us. So every evening after practice ended, we'd have dinner, and then we'd go to study hall, and we'd have tutors, which was helpful, which was a nice advantage. Nice. It was, but you know, not everyone used them, but it was there. And so that helps. But
go ahead.
I'll say, I just think that college, being a college athlete really does set someone up to be successful in whatever their future career might be. For me, it's practicing law.
Yeah.
But you could be a business person. You could be a teacher. You can be whatever you are. I think if you've gone through college athletics, that's just an advantage that you have.
Frank has been barking the entire time. But he's not full barking. Oh. But he's barking. French bulldog, people know. He does this little bark. That's actually a really good segue to the next thing, which is youth sports, which is obviously very different now than it was when we were kids. I am not athletic. I did not play youth sports. I am terrible. Sorry about that. I put it in the gene pool.
He does share our genes.
He does. Yes, he's a good mix.
He has long legs.
He has long legs. They don't move very fast. That's me.
He's got good hair.
Yeah. He got the hair. The skin is pretty good. Yeah. I did what I could do. But, you know, nowadays, especially with baseball, like it's so competitive. You have not only been the kid who was coaching, had coaching in your family, then been the college athlete, and now you are coaching other kids and our own son. So you've kind of seen like all of it. What do you like? What's your philosophy on coaching youth sports in 2026?
So when our son first started playing baseball, I told myself, I'm going to be a dad and sit on the sidelines and just watch him play. And I did that for about 2 practices. And during that second practice, his coach heard that I had played, came to me and asked if I would help. And of course, I'm going to say yes. And I did. And that particular coach of his, when he was 6, is a high school football coach. And he coached those 6-year-olds like it was a high school football team.
He did.
Which was great because I think he reinforced to our son that yes, sir, and no, sir. And to this day, he's still yes, sirs and no, sirs, which I love. But one of the things I saw early on when I started coaching, and I was just an assistant coach, just watching and saw other teams out there with other coaches. One of the things that got me into this, one of the things that convinced me I need to coach our son is I wanted to make sure that he did not get stuck on a team with a coach that was going to make him hate the game of baseball. Because I love the game of baseball, and I didn't know if he was going to love it, but I wanted to make sure he had every chance to love it. And I felt like the only way I could try to control that is if I was his coach. So that's why I first started coaching. And that's part of my philosophy, especially with the really young kids when they were 7, 8, 9 years old, is trying to give them an experience on the baseball field that will allow them to love the game of baseball as much as I do, if they want to. And for some, they took to it and they did. For others, they were just out there because their parents wanted them to be out there, because that's what you do when you're a little kid. In some places, you play baseball. But that was most important to me, is I wanted kids to have an appreciation for the game, to maybe learn about the game as we went along, and to hopefully love the game, whether they end up playing it into youth league and pony league and Babe Ruth league and high school, whatever, we'll see. But at that stage, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, teach them the game, hope that they love the game.
And then when does it kind of flip to the next, like, okay, now you have to start, like, you're going to have to get a little bit serious.
Yeah, and that's
like
when,
10?
Yeah, so about 10, I think, is when our son started playing travel baseball, which for people that are our age, there hardly was a thing called travel sports back then, although I can tell you another story maybe on a different podcast about travel baseball growing up.
It was just rec stuff back then. You played in your local rec league, right?
Yeah, it was you played in a rec league, and then the best kids in the rec league would make the all-star team, and that's who would go play Little League and Babe Ruth League and Pony League. And if you're all-star team won, then they'd advance to the next one and the next one. That's all there was back then. But now with travel baseball, and as it's becoming more serious for certain kids, the philosophy sort of changes a little bit and it becomes more serious, trying to teach them more about the game that they can't necessarily see. Sometimes things about the game that their parents don't know about and don't ever see, but you're trying to teach them, I guess, a couple things. One, about the game, but two, like when they get to that age and when they're taking it seriously, and this was my experience growing up and playing the game, is it's not just baseball, but we're teaching these kids as they're becoming middle schoolers and then into high school, we're teaching them about life and we're trying to prepare them for more than just what's on the baseball field. And one of the biggest things that I try to teach to the kids that I coach is being a good teammate, being respectful of your teammates, being respectful of the game, which includes the other team, the umpires, the coaches, anyone who's out there, because that's how you're going to have to conduct yourself in life. Right. And so it's a game and it's an opportunity to have fun. And that's what we want them to do. Like that's the thing. Are you having fun? And the way I measure success for a long time with youth baseball is if the kid comes back to play the next year, that's a success. They enjoyed it enough that they want to keep playing the game. Right. That's to me a very easy way to measure success.
It's a team sport, but like, I feel like even in team sports nowadays, whether it's baseball or basketball or whatever, everybody's kind of playing as an individual because there's like, stats that are being kept and everybody's got private coaches and all that kind of stuff. But you still really feel like the team aspect of it is just as important as like being a great hitter or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously if you want to continue on in the game as you get older and older, you're going to have to be a great hitter or a great pitcher or a great fielder or some combination of those things. But I know that, and I know this from having talked to college coaches, for example, when they go watch high school kids play, they're not just looking to see, is this kid a good hitter? They already know the kid is a good hitter or they wouldn't be there to watch him play. They want to see what kind of person they are. And it's becoming more and more important to college coaches to make sure that they're bringing in the right type of person into their program. And so they'll watch, and I've heard coaches say, I've watched the kid after the game to see how he treated his parents after the game. Does he give his parent, does he give him a hug?
Right.
Or does he shoo him off? Or does he have an attitude with them? How does he treat his teammates when if he's a pitcher and the teammate makes an error, does he yell at them? What does he do? Things like that.
They should matter. I'm glad that they do.
I think they do. I mean, probably not for everybody.
Yeah.
But like if my son were to go and play sports in college, I would hope that he would be playing for a coach that would value those types of things.
Well, it kind of goes into that. And you started this like a year ago, and I know you got it from somewhere on the internet. I'm not sure where, but it's called TNT, which I love because as a person with no talent, it takes no talent.
Yeah. I learn a lot of stuff from the internet.
We Google around like everybody else.
But I saw a video on Instagram, I think it was, and it was a woman who was a coach, and I don't even remember what sport she coached, and her husband was a coach also. And she was talking about this philosophy that they have of making sure they're getting out of their teams as much as they can in terms of like effort, attitude, energy, things like that. And she said, there are certain things that TNT, that take no talent. And those are the things that we expect you to do as a player every single time you step on the field. Things like hustle, attitude, the energy that you bring. Are you a good teammate? Those types of things. You can be the worst player in the entire league, but you can do those perfectly every time.
Right.
You don't have to have any talent
to do
giving
a shit, basically.
It is. Right? It is. And when I heard that, like I use that with all my teams now. I talk to every single team I coach about doing the things that take no talent. That's where you have to start. Because in sports, whether it's baseball or football or basketball or whatever, players are going to make mistakes. Like in baseball, they keep track of runs, hits, and errors. They keep track of errors because people make errors. Even at the pro level, it's going to happen. Those are okay. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
Making errors, right? But the things that, like in baseball, like I expect kids on my team to run on and off the field every inning. It takes no talent to do that. I'm not saying you have to be the fastest one, but to show the effort to hustle on and off the field.
Yeah.
That's something that takes no talent. If a pitcher gives up a home run and you're on the team, you walk up to him and say, don't worry about it. Pat him on the back and say, we'll get the next one. Don't worry about it. Being there for your teammates.
And
like that.
Even just down to like, I know some people think you're like too strict, but like show up on time.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, like maybe the first thing that I tell almost every team I coach is I like ingrain this in their minds, and they all know it. Early is on time and on time is late.
That's such a boomer thing of you to say.
It is, but it is so true, because I tell them if practice starts at 5:00, that means I expect you to be ready to practice at 5:00, not walking up to the field where you have to put on your shoes and then you have to stretch and you have to do all those things. Should all happen beforehand. So I tell them they need to be there 15 minutes early every time, no matter what it is, so that they can get themselves prepared.
And most of them end up doing it.
Yeah, they do. And, the age of the kids that I'm coaching now are 14, right. 13, 12. They don't have driver's licenses. Right. So I tell all the kids, hey, I know that you guys can't drive. So all I ask, I know you all have phones. Right. So all I ask is, if you're going to be late, shoot me a text. Running late, coach. Mom and dad got stuck at work.
Right.
Whatever it is, just tell me you're going to be late, and I give them a pass. So you can be late if you text me.
But the parents will tell me sometimes, like when I'm sitting in the stands, the parents will tell me, like, my kid comes up to me and is like, we have got to go. You cannot make me late, because coach is going to be really mad that I'm late. So at least they care about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's teaching them something too. Again, It's not just about this practice or this game or this season even. It's about life. You need to be prepared. You can't just show up and expect that things are going to happen the way you want them to.
Well, have respect for other people's time. Like, that's a thing, I think, not to be like these kids today, but you have the coaches, your parents, the other players, like, you've got a defined amount of time that you've got to practice. Like, have respect for the fact that everybody needs to get as much out of that time as they possibly can. It's not about you. Like, everybody has shitty days where it's like, okay, I'm going to be late today, or I had a test, or I had a headache, or whatever. But if you show respect for everybody else's time, I feel like that creates team unity too.
Yeah, absolutely. And another reason why we have to do that is because fields are so hard to come by. Yeah. And so you'll rent a field for 2 hours. And so you have 2 hours. So you have to get done everything you can. And if you spend 15 or 20 minutes of that 2 hours just walking in and putting on your shoes and getting yourself ready to practice,
drinking your Gatorade.
Yeah, you've paid for a field to use, and you're not getting to use it because your kids aren't ready.
Right. We cannot leave this discussion without talking about the hardest part about youth sports, coaching youth sports, which is
the parents.
So, and you are a parent,
I am.
Right? You're a parent and a coach, which is its own difficulty. But I know from being with you as you became a youth coach of our child that, like, when you start the season, you talk to the kids and tell them the expectations, but you also have literally written expectations for the parents.
For sure.
So talk about that.
So I think it was one of the Yogi Berra-isms that I love about, he said something like, Little League baseball, it keeps the parents off the streets.
Yeah.
But ask any coach, and parents are part of the biggest challenge of coaching kids. And so the kids, they know the rules. They know if they have to be there 15 minutes early. They know what the expectation is. But I feel like the parents need to know it also. And so I have a piece of paper, an 8.5 by 11, double-sided.
Old school. And I think this was at your recommendation, actually. We don't call them team rules. We call them expectations, because this is how we expect people to behave. That's some employment law stuff right there. Oh, is it? These are the expectations. That's what I say. So I list them out, and it's everything from, be there 15 minutes early. Early is on time is late. It's that, but it's also things like, and this is especially applicable to the travel ball parents. Travel ball parents, for the most part, all think their kids are superstars, and all think their kids should be pitching or playing shortstop and batting first, second, or third in the lineup. But that's not reality. They're also paying a lot for it, to be fair. It costs more, yeah. It costs, but it depends what team you play on. That's true. But it costs more than a rec league. It costs more than a rec league. Yeah. Yeah. But that's not the way the game works. Not everybody can hit first, and not everybody can pitch at the same time. And so it's explaining to the parents that the purpose of us being out here is to teach your kids the game and to give them the best chance for success on the field. Kids earn their playing time during practice. And myself and the other coaches, we
come up with a lineup for every game, who bats in what position, who plays which position in the field. We go over it and we think of all the different scenarios that could play out and put together the lineup that will work that day. And so I tell the parents ahead of time, if you want to complain about where your son or daughter hit in the order, and I have coached some girls on our team before,
you have.
Or if you want to complain about the position that they played or how much or how little they played, you can ask me after a game, but I will tell you that the answer to that question will be the lineup that we put on the field for that particular game was the lineup that the coaches felt gave the team and the players the best chance for success. And it's happened many times. People have asked me that question after a game. Hey, my son, didn't get to play first base. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you exactly what's in the sheet that I handed everyone before the season started. And usually when I've done that, I've never heard from that parent again with any complaints. But I also tell them, but if you want to talk to me later, like not right after a game, but if you want to talk to me later about what can my son or daughter do to improve, what can we do to get them more playing time? What can we do to get them playing time at a certain position? I'm happy to talk to you about that. I'll talk to you about that probably more than you want to hear because I love talking about how to help kids.
But you have to frame it as what does my child need to do to get more playing time, or what does not, hey, you that makes all the decisions, you made the wrong decision, because that's all you'd ever do.
Yeah.
I really like too how as they've gotten older, maybe this is just selfish, but a lot of it has been like there was a time, I don't know, when they were maybe like 11 or so, where you were like, okay, here are things parents are not doing anymore. Parents are not carrying your equipment, right? Parents are not bringing you food in the dugout.
Yeah, that's all still on. It's still on the list.
Is it all still on there?
It's still on the list because I think it still applies. There are certain parents who will carry their kids' baseball bag, to the field, and I've seen it happen a few times, and I've actually had to nicely ask the parent to take the bag back to the car so that the kid.
Did?
Yeah, I've done that once or twice.
Oh, sometimes you're such an asshole.
Yeah, but it's like we're teaching the kids that they need to be responsible for their own equipment. They need to respect their own equipment. We don't throw equipment. If you make an out, you hang your bat back up on the rack, you put your helmet back on the stand, and you move on. But yeah, parents aren't bringing hamburgers to their kids in the dugout during a game. There's no eating in the dugout. Parents stay off the field unless there's an injury, which is different. But otherwise, parents stay off the field. And I tell them, when you turn these kids over to the coaches for this practice or for this game, you stay there and we'll take care of it. If you start coaching from the other side of the fence, that's going to be a problem. And a few times we've had to shut that down.
That was revolutionary to me as someone who didn't play a sport like this, where, especially when they were younger, like they get up to bat and the parents are telling them, like, lift your arm and do this and don't forget. And it was like, first of all, they shouldn't be listening to you. But even if they are, you don't know if that's the same thing that the coaches told them.
Right.
But I think what you do is right, which is you tell them, encourage the kid. Like, all the encouragement in the world is great. And like on the teams that you've had, like when I sit back there with the parents, it becomes that because it's all we can say, everybody encourages everybody else's kids, right? So it's like you say, like, good job, Aiden. I'm just saying Aiden because every team has an Aiden. At least one, sometimes two. But, you get into it where all you can do is encouragement or like, hey, it's good, shake it off, that kind of stuff. But every once in a while, somebody will come in. It's usually a dad. Yeah, they think they're going to don't forget to put your elbow up, and then you give them a dirty look.
Well, and then what you see is you see a kid standing at home plate, and every time a pitch comes in, the first thing they do is they turn back and look at their parent. And what I usually tell the parents is, your kid wants nothing more than to make you happy. And they know that if they can get a base hit, it's going to make you happy. And the more you coach them from the other side of the fence and they're looking back at you, the more distracted they are and the less likely it is that they're going to get a base hit to make you happy. So let your kid play the game and try, and let's see how that turns out. And it usually turns out better.
Yeah. It's hard because, like you said, like the kid wants to make their parent happy, but especially at some age, like you have to want it for yourself. You have to want to do it for yourself.
And that's what it turns into.
Yeah.
Right. Because at first the kids when they're young, they don't really know.
Yeah. What's the hardest part about coaching your own kid?
Not being too hard on him.
Our poor kid.
I mean, it's true. And I grew up a coach's kid. A coach, well, not always, but at least I think a fair, good coach is going to be harder on his kid than he is on everyone else. There are some coaches that will bat their kid in the best spot in the lineup and will play their kid at the best position. I'm not that way.
Daddy ball.
That's daddy ball. My kid has batted last many times. or close to last, because in that particular game at that time, that's where he needed to be. But when he makes mental mistakes, I will let him know about it. And sometimes I'm probably too hard on him. Now, I think he can handle it, and I think he can learn from it, which is why I think I can do that. But that's the hardest part, is not being too hard on my kid.
And knowing, like, how do you know when to be a coach and when to be a dad?
It's tough. It's tough. But he calls me coach on the field. He doesn't call me dad. But then we get in the car, he calls me dad.
On the ride home.
On the ride home.
Because I get to go by myself. Yeah. Because I get to drive myself, because he can go with the coach, which is, it's the best.
Right. And you don't want to get there like an hour early.
Why would I do that?
Or stay.
Why would I do that when I can roll up with my Diet Coke, like right as the first pitch is being thrown? And then I can leave the minute it's over.
And you do.
I do. We're not going to talk a whole lot about parenting in general, because you and I could talk for hours about that. But, and who knows how our kid's going to turn out. We think we like him. He's pretty good. But just in terms of like us, we obviously have a lot in common, that we work together. We think we have a pretty similar work ethic, right? We agree mostly on how to raise our kid. Like we both were raised by pretty serious boomers. Mm-hmm. And there's some stuff that we were like, I'm going to make sure I don't do that. But there's also some things that we felt like our parents did right. What do you think is the most important thing that people like be on the same level about if they're going to parent together?
I think it's about having common core values in terms of how do we act? How do we carry ourselves in certain situations? What do we need to help teach our son so that he's able to make the right decisions when he's out there in the world?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I love when a parent, when he was younger, especially when a parent would come up to me and say, your son was over our house and he was so respectful and so polite. That was everything, right? Because to know that you can turn your kid loose out in the world and he's going to be a good human being. Yeah. I mean, that's to me, that's what we're trying to do here.
I think the one thing that we have done a little bit differently than the way that we were raised was, yes, we want you to be, when you're out, because that's your job ultimately. That's another thing. You have to be aligned on the idea that your job as a parent is to prepare your kid to live without you, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Like you're making somebody who's going to go out there into the world. But I think one thing that we did that our parents didn't really do was like, yeah, we expect you to behave a certain way out there, but in here with us, you're safe. Like if you're going to be crazy or rude or difficult or have a mentee be or whatever, have it with us because we will love you no matter what. Mm-hmm. I think we do a pretty good job at that.
I think so. Yeah, we do.
I mean, we let him not like talk back to us, but we let him like sort of freak out with us more than I think our parents let us. Don't you think?
Yeah, he gets away with a lot more than we did.
Yes, he does.
But that's a product of the times too, right? It's just a different time.
That's true. He's influenced by things that we weren't influenced by, like, mm-hmm. The entire internet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I didn't have an email address until law school.
Same. Crazy. Yeah. Okay. So as we're winding down, thank you for all that conversation.
Yeah, that was fun.
As we're winding down, just a couple rapid fire things. Just, because people like that, like getting to know you stuff. Okay. We did a lot of deep stuff, so we're going to swim up to the surface a little bit. Okay.
Have some fun now.
Yeah, now it gets to be more fun. All right.
Let's go.
If you were not a lawyer, what would you be? This is the easiest question.
Either a high school or college baseball coach. I love it.
I know, but the money, man.
Well, that's why I'm a lawyer. That's why I just do that for fun.
Right. Yeah, it's not a high-paying career unless you get really, really, really high in it. I don't know what I would be. I guess I'd be an English professor. I wanted to be an English professor, and my dad was like, no, thank you. You're not going to make any money.
Well, you can be a content creator.
I can be a content creator. I did want to be a news anchor when I was a kid, and now I kind of am.
Didn't you have a video when you were on the news when you were a little kid or something like that? Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, when I was in like elementary school, I was on the news.
Were you the weather woman or something?
I did some story.
A story? Yeah.
I know. Look, I kind of became one.
Yeah,
Look at that. Thank you, Internet. What's your death row meal?
Ooh.
This is, by the way, what we talk about whenever we go on vacation and we have like family conversations. It's always changing death row meals.
Yeah. Probably a sesame bagel with lox and cream cheese. Mm. McDonald's French fries. Vanilla bean ice cream, and of course a Diet Coke from McDonald's.
McDonald's. Yeah. Yeah, you're a big ice cream and French fries guy.
Love ice cream and French fries.
I'm with you. My problem is I like different meals. So like, yes to fries.
McDonald's?
Probably McDonald's, and also the McDonald's Diet Coke. But I would also like pancakes. I'm very into pancakes. And I think I would want that burger that we had in Napa that one time where it was like a filet mignon burger. It was so good. I don't know what they did to it, but that was like one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life. Like a good solid burger.
Simple burger.
But I also really like cheese. Could I just have cheese? I guess I can have whatever I want because I'm going to die.
Yeah. Right? Well, I mean, that's the idea of the last.
Yeah.
You're definitely.
Yours is more simple than mine.
Yeah, mine is simple.
I'm undecided.
I'm a simple person.
You are a simple person. How do I take my coffee?
French vanilla cream, 1 packet of stevia. How do I take mine? It's a tougher question.
It's a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
So yours, preferably peppermint mocha creamer if available. Some kind of peppermint situation.
Today, yeah, that's what I'm into right now. Yeah.
If not available, you will do milk, like a 2% or something. You do that over half and half.
Yeah.
And if all of the like milk products are unacceptable, you will drink it black.
Of course. Coffee's delicious.
I won't drink it black.
Yeah.
I can't handle it.
I'll drink it black. I'll drink it anyway. I like coffee different ways.
How many cups of coffee do you have a day?
Well, usually 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I'll have one in the morning. I'll have one sometimes mid-morning at work. And then depending on the day, I might have one early afternoon.
Back in the day, like when we were working on we were working 14-hour days and working on, but you would drink like 6 cups of coffee.
Yeah, I used to drink a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. Yeah. But you have a special coffee you like to go get.
Yeah. So there's this restaurant in the office building that I work in that they have the best café con leche. It's delicious.
That's your like afternoon snack for yourself.
Either a café con leche or a cortadito. Really good.
Mm-hmm. The pronunciation is solid. It was good. Okay. What is the thing? What are you about?
I'm nervous already since you're laughing.
I know. What are you about to do when you say to me, can I help make you look more beautiful?
Seriously?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's fine. The women know. It happens to all of us.
Okay. That's usually when we're in the light and we're close together and I can see that there might be a little like hair coming out of your chin. And so I'll grab the tweezers and yank it out.
You'll see like hairs on my face and I'll say, I don't know when it started. But you were like, can I make you more beautiful? Which is, by the way, the exact right way to say it. Not to say like, hey, Esmeralda, there's something sticking out of your face.
Right.
Okay.
You asked that.
The women can identify. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Do you know how many like partners or husbands may now be told this is what you say to me when I have a hair on my face? You could be helping the masses.
I hope so.
Last rapid fire thing, and I want the absolute truth. You hear me?
Again, nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you actually love Frank or do you just tolerate him? He's watching, by the way.
Yeah.
He's sitting in front of us.
90% of the time, I actually love Frank. 10% of the time, I kind of love him, but I mostly tolerate him.
And what is the 10%?
Usually in bed because he has one of 3 spots that he goes to in bed that just drive me nuts. He either falls asleep on my head, which I don't love. He falls asleep with his butt right in my face, which I hate for obvious reasons. He's a Frenchie, and so he does bulldog things. Or when he gets between my legs so that I can't move. He's this little dog that makes it so I can't move in bed, and that drives me nuts.
And a king-size bed.
And a king-size bed. And I do not love him when he does that.
He's right here. Frank,
most of all, I do love him.
So you really do love him?
I do.
Okay. One of the things that people ask me for, like on every single platform consistently was, can we debate something?
Ooh.
Because I think people think that 2 lawyers arguing with each other is entertaining, which I guess it kind of is. Like I always tell people, we don't fight that much, but when we do argue, it's very organized.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, number 1, you left the towel out. Number 2, right? So I tried to come up with like a low stakes issue that we could debate about. So we're going to debate the issue, the very interesting and important social issue of, do you need to brush your teeth at night?
I can't believe we even have to debate this.
Well, we do, because we both like First thing you do, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, like big on brushing teeth. If you have something in your teeth, brush your teeth. If you eat onions, brush your teeth. But Mr. Nag believes that you absolutely must brush your teeth right before you go to bed, or you are like a gross person. And I feel like you don't have to if you don't want to. So, for your listening, debating pleasure, please listen to two married lawyers argue over brushing your teeth at night. And because you're the guest, I'm going to let you go first in the pro position of yes, you must brush your teeth at night.
See, like, I don't know what you mean by the pro position, because I was never like in the debate club like you probably were.
I wasn't actually, but you're pro nighttime teeth brushing.
Okay, I know what it means. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Okay, so you brush your teeth in the morning. That's great. And then you have breakfast and you drink coffee and you eat lunch and you probably drink more coffee and you're drinking Diet Coke, and then you have dinner. You're eating all this food and it's caking onto your teeth and it's getting between your teeth. And then you're just going to go to bed and not clean that off, so that all that food that's been caked on your teeth all day long is just eating into your teeth, and it's just causing tooth decay, and it's just causing, it's gross. Also, secondly, when you brush your teeth, it just makes your mouth feel better. And for me, I can fall asleep a lot easier when my mouth feels fresh than when it feels nasty, because I've been eating a bunch of stuff all day long without brushing my teeth. So you have to brush your teeth. And then thirdly, like when I want to go give my wife a kiss goodnight, it's a lot more fun when she's brushed her teeth than if she hasn't.
Oh, way to put it on me. I really appreciate that. So all of your arguments are dependent on the fact that it's like better for you before you go to bed. My issue with that argument is that the only thing that you do in bed is become unconscious. So why would I brush my teeth so that my teeth would feel clean right before I do the one thing where I will not be aware that my teeth are clean? I won't know because I'll be asleep. Like, give me a break with that kissing stuff. You can kiss me on the cheek. But like, why can't I just wait? Because when I go to sleep, they're going to get all yucky all over again by whatever that process is. So why do I have to brush them and then turn around and brush them again? Why can't I just wait and brush them in the morning and get both the daytime and the nighttime stuff off of my teeth?
Because while you might be unconscious and asleep, the tartar and the plaque is doing its work on your teeth while you're asleep. So you're sleeping, but it's not.
So you're telling me that my teeth are going to decay at a more rapid rate because I only brush my teeth once a day versus twice?
I'm saying there's a distinct possibility that could happen, yes.
Who has more cavities, me or you?
I do.
Right.
Crowns also, I do.
Yeah. I don't have any crowns.
Yeah, but you also go to the dentist and they tell you what a great job you've done brushing and flossing, and I brush and floss way more than you do. So you have great teeth.
Yeah.
I give that to you. You have great teeth.
Well, one of my issues also with brushing my teeth at night is that I feel like multiple times of day teeth brushing might be a scam because I think that big toothpaste just wants me to buy more toothpaste. Do you not agree with me that the toothpaste manufacturers but they sell twice as much toothpaste if we have to brush our teeth 2 times a day instead of 1, whether it's medically necessary or not?
That's true, but my mouth is also twice as fresh, and my teeth are also twice as clean.
How do you define fresh?
It's all feel.
Right.
Feels fresh. I love it.
So why don't you just mouthwash instead of brushing your teeth, or eat a mint?
Because that's not cleaning the teeth. It's like, it's not just, is your breath good? Mouthwash is great for your breath. And mouthwash is good too, because I'll use mouthwash also to help clean out your teeth. It's all good. But I do like big toothpaste. That's good. I've heard of big sugar and big tobacco. I have not yet heard of big toothpaste. And the first time you said that, I almost fell out of my chair. It was so funny.
Well, because sometimes I'm like, if I brush my teeth consistently 2 times a day, or if like I go through a period where I have to brush my teeth a lot or whatever, I realize I'm running out of toothpaste a lot faster. And I'm like, this is big toothpaste. Big toothpaste wants me to buy more toothpaste. Do you not agree that maybe, like, yes, I guess dentists always want you to brush your teeth. But maybe dentists would make more money if your teeth was bad. Teeth were bad, wouldn't they?
That's true. But our dentist gives you the option. Remember when growing up, it was always 2 times a year. Every 6 months, you go to the dentist.
Yeah.
I go see our dentist every 4 months.
So do I.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're making up for it, I guess. They're making up for having bad teeth by having that extra visit.
That's true. I just don't think I feel like I can decide on any given night, and I know I do this and you absolutely hate it, but I will take my toothbrush and get it wet.
Oh my God.
At night, and I will just brush them off so that there's no big kernels or anything, but I don't feel the need to use why do you have to use the toothpaste?
It's like washing your hands without soap.
But it's better than nothing, isn't it?
I guess, but not much.
We will probably debate about this until one of us dies.
Big toothpaste.
Big toothpaste. I just don't think that I'm sure some dentists would say oh yes, it's medically necessary. But as far as I understand, the reason that you don't want your teeth to rot. But if you're not worried about your teeth rotting because you feel like you're generally on top of it, then the thing about plaque is that plaque can get into your bloodstream and cause heart problems, right? Because it's the same plaque that's in your arteries. But the last time I went to the dentist, I asked him, have you ever actually seen that happen to someone? And he's like, no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes sense.
Is tooth plaque as big a problem as they're making it out to be?
Sometimes there's just right and wrong, and brushing your teeth is right.
So I'm a bad person, is what you're saying.
Not about being a good or bad person. Mm-hmm. It's about taking care of your teeth.
Mm-hmm. I see. All right. This debate has ended because we have gotten into the ad hominem part of it. We talk about ethics and morals in brushing your teeth. Yes. I'm not going to do legalese because this was it. We've been talking for almost an hour and 45 minutes? Yeah.
That long?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Time flies.
I know, it does. So thank you for joining us on this very special and extra long, it appears, edition of Allegedly Golden. Thank you, Mr. Nag, for your time and your wisdom.
Thank you.
Do you have any other wisdom you'd like to share about life in general? Anything you think people need to know?
Since you're giving me a platform.
Yes.
I feel like I have evolved a lot over the years. And I've gotten much more into just being nice to people and trying to just not be so tough, right? Just be nice, have fun, live life.
Yeah.
Because life's too short. Let's just enjoy it.
Get over yourself a little, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes being nice to another person, it obviously helps that other person, but it helps you too. Especially when you don't feel like it.
It totally does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was great wisdom. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode. And I will be back next week because, as you know, the drama never stops and somebody has to make it make sense.